Hi, my name is Linhales Barker. I just finished my Master's in Media Studies from RTF this past May, and the second chapter of my thesis got an award from LMAS, and it's titled How One Day at a Time and VIDA Create Culturally Specific Representations. And it's focused on how these two shows, One Day at a Time is a Netflix sitcom focused on the Alvarez family, and it's a Norman Lear adaptation, and VIDA is about two sisters who moved back to Boyle Heights, LA after their mother passed away, and it's on Stars, and how each of these shows create very specific cultural representations in terms of how they depict the ethnicities and nationalities of the two families, the two characters. In One Day at a Time, they're Cuban American, and their kind of details to do with the production in terms of like what kinds of foods were used, like the music, and even like the photographs of family and things like that. And in VIDA, it wasn't only the fact that they were Mexican American, but also that they were a Mexican American community in Boyle Heights, which is part of East Los Angeles, which is kind of a very critically important, historically important space for Latinx and Mexican American people overall. It's a larger part of my thesis, and I was inspired to write my thesis, which was about kind of how ethnicity and nationality impacts how Latinx people watch Latinx representation, because I, as a Brazilian American person, don't often, if you very, very frequently find Brazilian representations, and even more so Brazilian American representations on TV and film, because my thesis is focused on TV. And even though that's true, as a Latinx person, I had seen a lot of Latinx representation that was relatable to me, including One Day at a Time. The main character, or one of the main characters, Elena, in the very first season, kind of struggles with the realities of having her quinceañera. And when I was 15, I rejected the Brazilian equivalent of that. And I remember watching that and kind of feeling how it resonated a lot with me. And yet, I'm not a Cuban person, so the music and the specificity of the culture was not the same, even though the universalities of that still really resonated with me. And when I interviewed the participants of the audience that I did for my thesis, I found that to kind of be kind of a communal experience. A lot of other Latinx people who still found Latinx representation very relatable from different sort of national origin groups, and yet the people who, like me, really didn't have a lot of Latinx representation that reflected them really missed that, because you don't see your specificity on screen. And because Latinx representation is still so limited compared to the diversity of Latinx people in the US and compared to our demographic size, there is a lot still missing. It means a lot to me to get to study Latinx media and Latinx viewers, not only as a Latinx person, but I think because I get to hear a lot about the ways people find media very meaningful and TV shows very meaningful. I had a lot of conversations with people who just told me all about kind of the impact that shows had on them, of being able to see characters who were intersectional and diverse, who were queer and Latinx, who were that and Latinx, and how that impacts people, and how much joy you can get from seeing your stories and your life and your kind of intricacies reflected on screen, and just kind of highlights the importance of Latinx film and media overall, and of Latinx storytellers who get to tell these stories, and kind of the joy of all that, and also kind of the joy of getting to learn more about Latinx people while watching Latinx representation. Because obviously I'm not Cuban, I'm not Mexican American, so when I was writing that chapter on the intricacies of how to depict these kinds of characters, I got to learn so much about other kinds of Latinx people, which I think is also an immense joy. Thank you so much.